Back to Brick Gaming Video, and today I'm back here with another video. Today I will be doing a Myutant deck profile for the current format and give my thoughts, opinions, etc. But mainly present what I think is currently the best, if not one of the best builds for the deck. So please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, I would highly recommend it. It would really help out the channel, help me continue to grow. And the goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of next year, so please help out with that goal. Alright, let's get right into this deck profile. First off, for the monsters, I of course play triple Myutant M05. This one grabs you a monster upon its normal or special summon. Then you can banish either a monster, spell, or trap from your hand, and special summon the according monster, which includes for monster, Mutant Beast, for spell, Mutant Mist, and then for trap, Mutant Arsenal. This is a hard once per turn, but still a very powerful starter card and is usually full combo if you see it. Same with the next card, which is ST46. ST46 does the same exact thing, except for it searches a spell or trap on summon. So this one's the spell and trap searcher, and Mutant M05 plus ST46 is full combo, or by themselves you can potentially get to full combo just with those two, or with a single one. Next, I play two Beasts. I think Beast is really good too. It's the best mutant by far, and I think you should play two copies. Next is two Arsenal. I think for Arsenal, it's really decent overall. It's good removal. It's not as good as Beast, but you play two because you play so many traps, so it's really easy to summon this guy out. He's probably the easiest one to summon out overall, and he also just puts in more power. And then finally Mist. Mist is the worst by far and the hardest one to summon, since it requires a spell and there aren't as many spells played in this deck, but you can still summon out occasionally, and it's really good against back row decks, since this one gives you draw power when your opponent activates a trap. Then moving on to the hand traps. For the monster hand traps, I play of course 3D shifters. For whatever reason, I do not have 3 copies of him right now, and I will either have to find them at locals or order them online. But in the future, just for future reference, there is 3-dimensional shifters, and you should always play 3 if possible. Next, I play triple Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really strong, really good card. Sure, it's not like the most powerful hand trap of all time. That probably goes to Nibiru, but still a pretty decent card overall, and against rogue decks, it can usually shut them down pretty quickly. Then for the spells, I play 3 Paw of Extravagance. Paw of Extravagance is really good. It's the type of draw power you want to see. Since there's only really 2 monsters you're ever going to be making in your extra deck, and those 2 monsters are only easy to make monsters, and you just max out on 3 copies of each. So Paw of Extravagance is really good for that reason, since it gives you additional draw power, which is something the deck needs. Then moving on, we play triple Evolution Lab, plus 1 copy of Terraforming, and the reason I play Evolution Lab is obvious. This is one of the best cards for this deck. So when it's activated, special summon 1 level 4 or lower, mutant monster from your hand or that's banished, then all your mutants gain 100 attack points for each different banished mutant card, and then once per turn, you can place one of your big boys or even a small boy on the bottom of your deck and then draw 1 card to let you fix your hand. So for all of those reasons, this card's really just busted and really helps out with the deck as well as consistency. And then the next spell I play is 1 Mutant Fusion. Mutant Fusion comes up occasionally. It's not the best fusion card ever, but if your opponent's going to interact with you on your turn, this card can just be a blowout card, especially if your opponent hand traps you, or just plays anything on your turn. Next, I play 1 copy of Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport's really busted right now in this deck. It needs to come back to 2 or 3 copies. I would highly recommend, if you guys haven't, I would pick up additional copy, like to have 2 copies of this card, or maybe even 3 copies of this card right now, because this card most likely I feel like will come off the ban list within the next 1 to 2 ban lists. It'll come off to like possibly semi-limited, and if it does that, this card is going to become even more insanely expensive than it already is. So I would highly recommend just trying to pick up multiple copies of this card and just be prepared for that. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy that card, but if you can find them for trade, I would trade for them right now, or even buy them if you can find a good deal for them. Then also 1 Dimensional Fissure, which I would either play D-Fissure or Macro. One or the other. I feel like Macro is overall better, but I would have to go through my bulk to find a Macro at this point. I still don't even know if I even own a macro, so for now I'm playing Dimensional Fissure, but if you own a macro, I would go with macro first. Then moving on to the traps, I play triple Mutant Cry. Cry is super busted, super amazing card. Lets you shuffle stuff back from your field, graveyard, or face-up banish cards to fusion summon, and that's pretty much everywhere that your mutants will be in a duel, so it's basically a free fusion at any time. It's searchable, it's really busted, it's super good. You need to play 3. Then I play triple Mutant Expansion. This just adds more consistency. It's like playing 3 more copies of the small boys. So altogether, you're technically playing 10 copies of small boys, which it should add a lot of consistency to the deck. I think this deck does need, like, once you get new support, this deck does need like 1 or 2 more search cards, and maybe like 1 fusion or 1 more main deck power card. And if it gets any variation or variety of those possible options, I feel like this deck could easily become tier 1 with those possible options, especially because you can play a large range of hand traps and you have a lot of ways already to get to your cards in this deck. Like, I feel like if you're going to play this deck, you should pick it up now if you're going to play it, because I feel like in the future this deck's going to come up in price, especially if it gets good support, and I feel like it's going to get good support within the foreseeable future. But expansion really just helps out, it gives you free protection, and it's really good overall. Then moving on, I play triple Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is really good in this deck. Since first off, it's not a monster, so it's good, it's searchable. I'll show you in a second how this card's searchable, but it should be pretty obvious. But this card's just really good, good interruption. It's not like the end-all be-all of hand traps, but it's the best one by far, I feel like, outside of Dimensional Shifter. Then I play triple Dogmatica Punishment. The reason I play 3, I know that some people are playing 2, especially Team Samurai X1, just to reference him real fast, it's playing 2 copies. But I feel like if you draw it into 1 and you're only playing 2, you won't be able to get it off of trap tricks. And so I feel like it's better just to play 3 and have it in case you need it. And then even if you can't play it or it's not very good in a particular situation, you can still banish it out of your hand and get rid of it. And also I'm playing trap trick just because it adds consistency, so you're able to get punishment off of it, imperm off of it, or Mutant Cry off of it. And I feel like you also play Lost Wind or another regular trap in this deck, and it would just make Trap Trick even better. But that's what my main deck looks like right now, and it just, the deck is surprisingly consistent. Like, more consistent than I initially thought when I was first testing it. You just have really maximize on ratios, and if you maximize on ratios, yeah, the deck can be pretty good. Next, I play triple Synthesis. Synthesis is overall pretty decent when summoned, or fusion summoned to be exact. He summons out, he pops a card on the field. He just pops a card. You target it, of course, but then you pop it. And it can be face up, face down, whatever. Really nice. And then also you can change his attribute, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. He gets around a lot of cards that way. And then he becomes unaffected by the attribute. And then finally, yeah, the guy has 3 effects. And all effects are really broken. His final effect is you can add one of your banished mutant cards, any mutant card, to your hand. Just add it to your hand when he's destroyed, which is like insane. It's nuts. Can you imagine that? Like just a few years ago, if this archetype would come out, the deck would be even more higher in the tiers, just because how broken these fusions are. Next is Ultimates. I have 2 more coming in the mail. I'm just waiting on them. I thought they would already be here hopefully by now, but within the next few days they should be here, so hopefully I get them in. But this card is also really broken. It's a late game card. Usually for like most variations of this deck, like if you're playing Thunder, this guy comes up late game. But if you're playing the pure build, you can make this guy on turn 2, maybe turn 3, and I feel like the deck gets additional support, like even like a Foolish Burial that's a banished Foolish Burial, like banish one of your mutants from your deck or something like that, it'll become even more easier to make Ultimus. And Ultimus is super powerful, he's broken. So you can banish 1 mutant card from your hand, graveyard, or face-up field, so pretty much anywhere except for deck, he can banish that mutant card, and then he negates the activation of the other card. It just has to be the same type, so monster, spell, or trap, but that's super easy to get to in mutants. And then on top of that, if he's destroyed, so, oh, and also he banishes the thing that he negates, but that's kind of beside the point. But if he gets destroyed, you add up to 3 of your banished mutant cards, up to 1 of each, monster, spell, or trap, from your banish to your hand. So let me just put that in perspective. You don't have to add one of each. You can choose to add up to one of each. And if you don't have something like, let's say he gets destroyed and you don't have a trap in your banish pile, well, all of a sudden you can just still add back the spell and the monster to your hand, which is amazing. So no matter what, this guy just gets destroyed or popped off. He's super broken. And also off of punishment, this guy's really good. 3,500 attack, he kills pretty much everything, including Ultimate Conductor, which is pretty relevant. Next card is, of course, 3 Nitsis. You have to play 3 because, well, you're playing Extravagance, and if you're able, depending on how many times you're able to resolve Dogmatica Punishment, if you're able to resolve it more than once, it's usually preferable to have more than one of her. And also, if you play against Dogmatica with this deck, ooh, you can just send your Nitsis, get pop-off. Ooh, that's pretty spicy. So this card's really good for that reason. Would highly recommend playing. Next, I'm going to get into the XYZs. So I think the XYZs are good in this deck, and I did go with as many as I think was possible that would still not be too much. So for that reason, I play 1 copy of Ding and 1 copy of number 38 as my rank 8s. I feel like these two are just some of the best options because Ding offers both protection as well as sending. So sends on summon, protects your guys from destruction, super nice. And then number 38, the main thing you're going to do is just negate spells with him. But even if outside that, he can change attack targets to him. And he's pretty big. He's in 3,000 boys. So, yeah, both of these cards are really good in this deck. Once again, these are the 2 that I decided to go with. I've seen builds go with other ones, but I think these are the 2 just most best against the most number of decks. And then on top of that, the reason I chose 2 instead of just going with 1 rank 8 is because obviously you play Extravagance. So if you lose one of these guys, it's still fine. If you lose both of them, it's still fine. It doesn't really matter what you banish off of Extravagance as long as you have like 1 copy of anything left in your extra deck. Then I play 1 copy of Phantom Fortress thingy. Yeah. So this might confuse some people, like, oh, why are you playing this card? I haven't seen other builds play him. Well, the reason I'm playing him is because if you get somehow, and this isn't too difficult either, if you get 2 Synthesis out on the field, which you can do by the end of the first turn, well, if you go your turn, your opponent hand traps you, you can play the spell, summon, or also you have Mutant Cry, so you can just do it on your opponent's turn, and then during your turn you can do the whole other fusion spell. But it's not super hard, so you can make either this guy, or True King of all Calamities, and both of these guys are really good options. Calamities locks down monster decks. Phantom Fortress, if you get into a simplified format, or not format, simplified game state, and you have this guy on the field, you can just start sniping cards out of your opponent's control, or from their hand, from their graveyard, or even from the top of their deck. And so it just hits everything. This card just hits everything. Oh, you think your cards are safe from being banished? Oh no. So this card is really good in interruption right now, since almost every single deck needs their stuff either in grave, field, or hand. So easy card to play. Would highly recommend. And those are the 2 best ranked 9s in my opinion. Then I play 1 copy of Phoenix and 1 copy of Unicorn. Links are the worst things in this deck. You don't want to play Links. What are you going to do with Access Code? Everything's banished. What are you going to do with Boral Sword? Boral Sword is hard to make in this deck. So I thought these 2 were the easiest ones to make and the most versatile overall. The deck doesn't really have a lot of backward destruction really outside of like punishment or negating something on activation. So I feel like Phoenix is good for that reason, and Unicorn just generically spin anything back. So if something your opponent controls can't be destroyed, well, easy, you just out with Unicorn. So yeah, and also everything in this deck can get really big off of the field spell, so you don't really have to worry about attacking over things. So a Boral Sword or Access Code, there's really no point to running them like in the pair build. And that's just kind of my thoughts. I feel like this is pretty much the best version of the deck right now. I think in the future, the deck's going to get a lot better. Well, I can't almost guarantee it's going to get a lot better. Even if they only get like 1 good support card, that could change everything for the deck. So I would highly recommend checking out the deck, maybe investing in it if you like the play style. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe to the channel. I have new content coming out all the time, at least like 2 to 3 times a week, bare minimum. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next video.